Welcome to the Forum, your way to keep up with state and community leaders, experts, and local business leaders. This is your chance to hear from and talk to people that affect your life right here in Rim Country. You can express your opinions by calling 474-2427. And remember, the comments and opinions of guests and callers are not necessarily the opinions of KMOG. Welcome to Rim Country Forum.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday program. Is it Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday all day. Okay. And we want to thank our sponsors before we begin. Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration, the Owens Law Firm, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, Pinnacle Propane, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center. I hear that's a wonderful place. And Dana Law Group and the Power of Fives. And as we promised yesterday, we had such a good time visiting with Frank, who is the Director of Culinary at the hospital. And today we have the CEO of Banner Payson Medical Center. Sounds pretty serious. It's Hoyt Skablin. Hi, Hoyt.
Hi. Thank you for having us, Charlie.
Welcome back.
Thank
it's always
you.
great to see you.
Thank you.
And we have Judy Lee and Shannon Somas here. And Judy and Shannon have been waiting in the lobby for a little bit, and we're really quite concerned about my health, my mental health. So I know that it's going to be okay.
Good morning. Yeah. Thanks for having us, Charlie.
You bet. So, Judy, maybe we'll begin with you. You're the program director, and tell us the name of the program.
Correct. So we are Banner Payson Medical Center's Cardiopulmonary Rehabilitation and Senior Emotional Wellness Program. So we offer a couple different lines of service. We do cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab. We have obviously an emotional support component of things. And what did I forget? We do a respiratory, which is very similar to the the pulmonary.
Is the emotional support program specifically linked to the other two?
It is. It can be. Very much so. We do offer that to any person who comes over our threshold. We however, offer it separately as well. If you don't have a cardiac issue, you can certainly have emotional support.
Okay. And are most of the patients that you're treating, are they Banner Payson Medical Center patients to begin with, or do you take other patients who have been treated elsewhere and need to come in and do their rehab or need that emotional support?
We take absolutely anyone. So you can be referred by any doctor from the Valley, or you can be from Banner Payson. A clinic. You can be from any other clinic in the Valley or in Payson as well.
But you need a prescription for the service, yes? I mean,
yes,
your doctor has to do a referral.
Right. We have Dr. Judith Hunt is our medical director for the cardiopulmonary rehab part. And then we're kind of doing a switch over in physicians right now for the emotional support program. But Dr. Ergi Gumusinelli is going to be the medical director for that part.
And in that second program, which is the standalone program of the emotional wellness, you can self-refer to that program. Is that right, Judy?
Sure. You can self-refer to any of them, but we would need contact from your doctor, from a doctor. Correct.
Okay. And what are some of the, we know where it's coming from. With COVID, and everybody has been touched by COVID in some way, shape, or form, there is a greater need, I would think, for emotional wellness than there has been in other periods, particularly with elderly people who have been completely shut off from friends, family, neighbors, community activities, you name it, right?
For sure. COVID has definitely impacted everyone. I mean, it doesn't matter if we've just had to quarantine or stay in our house and not go to the grocery store or just change our shopping routine, all the way to knowing someone who's had COVID or having COVID ourselves and being impacted by the symptoms. But we do know that COVID and other health issues can definitely impact the emotional wellness of a person and can lead to things that do need to have attention, such as anxiety or depression, or sleep issues are very common. So, if a person is experiencing things such as anxiety because of a medical diagnosis or something, that is very much so something you want to pay attention to.
Hoyt Scablin, the CEO of Banner Payson, I don't know, did you explain to them that this was going to be a performance review this morning? So I'm wondering what you can tell me about these two ladies.
These ladies are great. I think the uniqueness of, I would call it 3 programs, although we're licensed as 2. One is the cardiopulmonary rehab program, and then the other is it's an outpatient emotional wellness program. They are interrelated, and these 2 ladies play roles in both. And the unique part of this program, in my view, one is I'll restate this. I may have mentioned this last month when we visited Charlie. The most common underdiagnosed condition in those over 65 is depression. And and think about, I'm 51, so I'm not in that category yet, but I've been surprised how much harder life is over 30 than I thought. I thought life would become easier, that we become experienced in life's, but we experience more close friends and family who die. We can't do everything we used to could do as well as we could, and physical constraints. And I think that we as a nation have been insensitive to how hard that is. And so this program that Judy is a clinical licensed social worker. She's a trained therapist. She knows how to guide people through those feelings, and it's very real. It's not just, emotions affect our physical health and well-being entirely. And there's a lot of science that we've learned. I think, as I think about COVID, not going to church for a time, when things were really busy with COVID, when the restrictions were their strictest, some of the places where we get our strength, we became more limited in. The friendships that we lean on, logs in a fire. If you take a log and set it by itself, it cools and the flame often goes out. And I think emotionally we're all a little spent that way, and it's good to see. I'm so glad to be in Gila County. Reading the stats on the vaccination, we're one of the most highly vaccinated counties in the state, and we don't have a COVID patient in the hospital today. COVID positive patient. This is working, and I'm excited.
Thank you, Lord. We appreciate that.
Amen.
Yep.
And anyway, so back to these programs. I think for myself, I was reflecting this last week. I'll sound like a wimp, I suppose, but it's been a long year. 12 months, if you look back to last April to now. And I was thinking about reflecting on what we went through, partly since November here in Payson, and then for me in Colorado. And I'm a little emotionally exhausted. Do you know what I mean? I've reached into the well, and I need to refill a little bit. This program takes science and medicine. There's a psychiatrist available to do telemed. And it's not a program that's heavy medication, but sometimes your body needs a chemical adjustment that helps get you on your feet. And that's something we don't talk a lot about in society, and there's almost it's undiscussable. Well, we don't want people to feel that way. We want you to come and receive expert care. On the other program, which this fine nurse Shannon sitting next to me is a big component of, we're talking about people who have had life-changing health circumstances that were life-threatening. So heart attack, open heart surgeries, on the breathing side of things, patients who are struggling to, I use this and I've said it before, to park their car in a handicapped space at a grocery store. And by the time they get to a grocery cart, they can't breathe. And now they're thinking about returning. This happened to my mother. She's heavy set, and she has had asthma and other lung issues in her life. And she got done grocery shopping, and she got to her car, and she could not unload her groceries. And thankfully, a good Samaritan said, "Can I help you with something?" And she said, "Yes, please." So now she's worried to go shopping.
Yeah.
And so anyways, this program takes people that are in that crossroads of life, who are probably struggling emotionally, And now what happens is when you don't take care of yourself in this condition with expert care, other conditions start to be amplified. And we see people's lives shortened, where with the help of these professionals, physicians, medications, tests, treatments, rehab, these patients can end up living the full length of their life with high quality. And so we're honored to have Shannon and Judy here, and this is a program we're very proud of. Just opened in October. Wasn't a very fun time to open, very restricted. Now we have wait lists. And we're hiring, we have additional staff we're looking to hire and expand so that people that are listening that need this service, that it's not a long time that you're waiting to come in at the convenience of Payson, and you will feel like a guest in our home in this small program.
Shannon, I'm going to start with you now, if you're ready. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Where were you born?
I was actually born in Arizona, but I grew up in California.
Where were you born in Arizona?
Mesa.
In Mesa. And where did you grow up in California?
Agora Hills, California.
Okay. And how did you get from Agora Hills to Payson?
My mother and my stepfather moved here when I was in middle school, so I came with them over here, and then I've kind of been back and forth since, although I did just move back here from North Carolina last year.
Well, that's on the way. That's obvious. You stopped in North Carolina on the way over from Agora Hills, right? Yeah, no. And you are an RN?
Yes. I have my bachelor's degree.
Okay. And this program, it started in October? Is that when you came to work at Banner, or were you working at the hospital before that?
So I actually worked at the hospital up here for about 3 years before I moved away. And when I came back, this awesome brand new program, it just popped into my life right at the perfect time, and it was exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I needed, and it's been amazing. I started in December here, so.
There are a lot of young people who have been in Payson and then left Payson and have come back to Payson, and then there are some of us like Hoyt and I who came home to a place we'd never been before. But in your experience, what drew you to Payson specifically?
Well, I've got family here, and it's a small, close community. It's just like coming home, I guess. I mean, I moved away because I wanted to explore other career opportunities, and then COVID happened, and I just needed to come home for a while. So here I am.
Yeah, little divine intervention there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have that going. So somebody told me the other day, actually a physician, that there are as many deaths every year from heart disease and stroke than we experienced during the pandemic from COVID. That there are over 500,000 people who die every year because of heart issues. And I'm going to guess that being in rehab, that one of your goals, as Hoyt just pointed out, is to get to those people who are on the downward slope and kind of level them off a little bit and maybe get them going back up again. How do you do that? Somebody's had a serious open heart surgery or a significant heart attack and a stent's put in or whatever, and they're weak. They're just not themselves.
So it's not always on a downward slope. It can be, but it can also be helping someone get better faster. So they could be on the mend, but maybe they're just still struggling with shortness of breath, fatigue, weakness. They feel like they lack endurance, and they just can't get on with their normal daily activities. So what we do is we do some exercise, very light. If it's cardiac, we have them on heart monitor. That way we can make sure that everything looks good, their rhythm, how fast their heart's beating. just very light exercise. We're constantly checking in to make sure that they're okay, they're comfortable. It's a safe, monitored experience. We take lots of rests. It's also education, helping people understand what's going on in their body, how to feel better. We teach, how to catch your breath faster if you're feeling short of breath. Meanwhile, if it's a breathing issue, like post-COVID, for example, people struggle with post-COVID effects for sometimes up to like a year after. So strengthening the diaphragm, teaching people relaxation and breathing techniques. We talk about nutrition, relaxation. All these things affect the body, and your body works together. Different organs, different systems to make you feel better. So it's improving overall quality of life. And as we go along, we teach people, give them the tools so that they know how to improve. So we get you strong enough to where you can go do it on your own. And then at that point, you know exactly what to do. You've improved your nutrition. You've improved your emotional well-being. You've improved physically. You're stronger. You have more energy, more endurance. And then you can continue improving. So it's not just a come to the program and then you're done. We're setting you up for success.
I know there are some people listening right now who are thinking like, boy, that sounds kind of good, and that might be for me, but they have a question. And they're thinking, okay, would I qualify under this, or should I be thinking about that? Or I can't even imagine what all the questions are, but I know they're out there. And so we're going to encourage them to call the program and ask you, experts. That's why we have you here, 474-2427. If you have a question for Judy Lee, who is the program director of this Payson Medical Center's cardiopulmonary rehab program and senior emotional health program. And we have Shannon Somas, who is here. She's a registered nurse, and she's pretty hands-on in the program and working with the patients directly. And we have Hoyt Scabland. If you have any kind of a technical, larger issue question about would I be eligible or all of that kind of stuff, he can answer that too. We'll take a little break, take care of some business, and come back with your questions. 474-2427. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us again here on the Rim Country Forum. Charlie Seraphin with you, along with Hoyt Scabland, who is the CEO at Banner Payson, and Judy Lee, the program director of this wonderful program that we've been talking about this morning, and Shannon Somas, who is a registered nurse and involved in the program. Judy, come back to you if we can.
Sure.
Can you, and I know we're going to have questions, so we're going to take those in just one second, but can you tell us about, without giving the name of the patient, can you give us a kind of a success story of what the ultimate thing would be? Someone comes into the program, they have some health issues, maybe combined emotional issues as well, and when they leave,
Sure.
How are they?
So if someone comes into the program and they have their initial evaluation with Shannon, and I always meet the person at the same time, introduce them to the program, and also ask some questions about, emotional support that they might be needing or any struggles that they might have. And so then it's determined according to, their doctor, we work with their doctor. Shannon makes a treatment plan. I'm a part of the treatment planning as well. And then we kind of determine how frequently the patient should come in, how long they'll stay during a treatment time between 1 and 2 and even 3 hours. That's rare though. As Shannon said, we take breaks, but we want to address the whole person. We don't just want to address the heart. We don't want to just, look at the lungs. We want to take care of the entire person, which also involves their emotional, struggles and supporting them in that regard. So just to kind of add to what Hoyt said, people who are 65 and older are 4 times more likely to experience depression and anxiety than any other age group. And so it's very common. This is when we're having major life changes after 65. You're retiring, maybe you're making a move, maybe you're downsizing. As Hoyt mentioned, we lose loved ones, we lose friends. Maybe friends retired to a different community so they could be near their children or their family or something. So, there can be major life changes that just cause us to have some grief and some depression, and just to acknowledge that is so important. And then it's kind of a double-edged sword. So health issues can definitely affect emotional issues, and then emotional issues can definitely affect our health. So even things like as much as like anemia, a person with anemia is 42% more likely to have depression than a person who doesn't have anemia. So there's just things like that. Or even, if you have a hip fracture, or if you have some other reason to interact with the medical community, those kinds of things can definitely lead to other struggles. So your question was, what happens? So they come in, they do their stuff with Shannon, whatever that is. They meet with me normally on a weekly basis. I also offer groups, which we do, as a support, as just a combination of education, psychoeducation, and then also, just talking about what's going on in your life, and those kind of supports can just really be helpful and just help you make gains in the whole aspect of life.
Excellent. Somebody called, and they do have a question, but I didn't get to them fast enough, so call me back, 474-2427. And Judy, before we get away, because we always like to do this, I have to ask you where you were born.
Oh. I was born in Akron, Iowa.
Akron, Iowa. Where's Akron, Iowa? Where is it?
Oh, my goodness. It is on the very northwest corner of Iowa.
Okay.
Right on the border of South Dakota, and not far south from the Minnesota border.
Okay, right in a tri-state region there. Yeah. And how did you get to Payson?
I lived all over the Midwest. Born and raised in Iowa, raised my family in Minnesota. Lived for a period of time in Illinois, then ended up in Nebraska, kind of following my husband. And then if you don't mind, I received a calling that I needed to come to Payson, Arizona, and start this program. And so that's why I'm here.
I don't mind at all. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel very at home here, and it's just a beautiful place. And I'm here alone without my husband, but I'm very supported. Have wonderful neighbors. This community has just been a great support to me.
Yeah, great. Let's say good morning and welcome to the forum. Who's on the line? Oops, I got to push the button here. Sorry. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I have a quick question. I'll get away from my radio. I have a quick question about the caregivers. Do you give some sort of support and have groups or something to support those who are taking care of those who can't take care of themselves?
We don't currently have anything happening in that regard, but we certainly could look at that if that's, an area of need. Absolutely. You could give us a call. We would be more than happy to take a look at that. And I'll give you the phone number. It's 928-596-4575. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your call and your question and your suggestion. And we've had that before on the program. People, we have a lot of caregivers in the community. Given the nature of the community, we have a lot of seniors here, and I think that's interesting. Yeah, that would be a really nice thing, even if it was once a week or every other week or something, and just so that people. I think one of the things you talked about, isolation. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one that's in your situation.
Yep.
And it is comforting to know that you're not alone, that there are other people that are going through similar things, and so just sharing that experience is healthy in and of itself.
I know this will be interesting. Something for me to learn more about locally, what exists and where the needs are. Sure, appreciate that caller's question, and Judy and I will talk, and we'll talk with our team, and we certainly don't want to replicate something that may exist in the community, but if there's a gap. It's been a great community. There's an interagency call once a month with all the different agencies in the community relating to healthcare and social issues. And there may be a resource there that we're not aware of, but I appreciate the chance for us. We want to be, as a not-for-profit, people don't often recognize the hospital is a not-for-profit. They get a bill and they say, how can that be not-for-profit? Well, it's expensive to operate hospitals and ORs and emergency departments, and in the ER we have every conceivable supply that we don't know what we're going to see the next moment. All of that's expensive. The years of training, these two ladies here, both Judy's I think 6 years plus of training, 4 years for Shannon, and then clinical education on top of that every year. It's not it's life is too precious to be casual about our training and about our resources and tools. But our goal is we don't pay stockholders. We don't have a for-profit mission. Our mission is you have to have money pays for the means to get to the mission, and our mission is to serve this community. So I'm anxious for this opportunity to explore and see how can we use the resources we have to be a blessing to those who are caring for those that are most fragile.
I'm guessing that may be one that's fallen through the cracks. Just based on the number of calls that I've received over the last 6 or 8 months of doing this program, every once in a while that comes up and somebody says, well, what about the caregiver? What about the caregiver? And that's an
opportunity.
That's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So how about Shannon? I'm going to come back to you for just a second. So what kind of equipment, a lot of times people are intimidated. You say, I'm having a hard time breathing, and the first thing you're saying is, well, we're going to get you in a little bit better shape, right? But they may be a little reluctant. And what kind of equipment do you use, and how do you encourage them to get beyond just the equipment they're using to strengthen their heart, strengthen their lungs?
So when we meet with somebody for an evaluation, it's to get to know them better, get a baseline for where they are, and then we make an individualized plan. Once we come up with the plan for nutrition, exercise, education, mental and emotional well-being, that's when we have the medical director, Dr. Judith Hunt, approve or make changes to it. We want it to be specific to each person. So, some people who come in, maybe they can't really walk or have a hard time, just walking across the room or to the end of the driveway. Those people, I definitely would not put them on a treadmill and say run, because I'm not cruel. But we have some machines where you can sit down, for example, an arm ergometer. This is a machine where you're sitting down in a chair and there's 2 handles, and it's like you're pedaling a bike with your hands. And you can do this at your own speed. We can add resistance if we want to. But we have a scale of how we measure things. So we always ask people before, during, and after each modality, how short of breath are you? How much exertion are you using? And are you having any pain right now anywhere in your body? We use that scale to make sure that people are never overdoing it, never pushing themselves too hard, just enough exercise, just barely enough to get them improving. Not enough to make them miserable, not enough to wear them out, not enough to make them too short of breath. We're always checking in, and like I said earlier, we take breaks. So I might have them do that for 5 minutes and then rest, catch their breath, have some water. We'll talk about an educational topic, and then maybe try another 5 minutes. We also have a physio step, which is like a sit-down elliptical is the best way to describe it. That's a fan favorite. Everybody likes that one. We have a stationary bike. I only use that one for when people are nearing the end of the program. They've gotten some strength up. They're sometimes people get stronger than me by the end of it. So we do have a treadmill. Not everybody uses all of these machines. We do yoga, stretching. We have some weights, bands. We're always changing it up, trying to keep things exciting and fun. So it's always different.
Everybody knows that we should eat well. Everyone knows that we should exercise. Not everyone eats well, and not everyone exercises. So the emotional component is motivation a lot of times. Like, how do I get motivated to get healthier? How do you do that?
Well, I use a harm reduction approach. So if
is that like a threat?
Yeah.
If you don't,
not if you don't, your harm will be great.
This is you next week, right? If you don't shape up today.
Right. I think just taking it in. If it's something that you can't just do totally, wholeheartedly, and you need to take what we call baby steps, I think it's important to just start small. You start in one little spot, and maybe you are not stopping eating or decreasing the amount that you eat, but maybe you're adding in a salad that doesn't have a lot of dressing on it, or maybe you're decreasing the amount of sugar that you're taking in. Maybe you're putting less creamer in your coffee. So you start in very small increments. And then once, you kind of have that small piece, got it down and doing well, you can add another thing or take another thing away. So I think that is definitely the easiest way to, kind of make a change, a long-lasting change.
I think, it's interesting. We know this just by humans. Success breeds success. And I find when my father suffered his first heart attack at age 44, and his father passed away of a heart attack. And so by heredity, I have heart disease coming if I don't, so I have to get specific. I think when we deal, it's been said, when we deal in generalities, we shall rarely succeed. When we deal in specifics, we shall rarely fail. So I sat down with the dietitian and I told her my history, and I was expecting to get this big lecture. And I said, listen, I love food, and I love certain types. I love all food, but I like certain types of food more than others, and I don't want to give up my dessert. And she said to me, I can help you. You're going to be successful. And I said, ma'am, I don't think you heard me. I love food, and I want to. She said, no. She said, being realistic, which I hear you say in baby steps, being realistic is half the battle. She said, I can help you. What we'll do is you can have your desserts. You can have this. I need to help you understand balance. She was talking about portion size on a plate, and she asked me, what size plate do I use? And she said, you might consider actually buying different plates in your home so that your plate feels full. And I remembered that, and she talked about a protein will fill you for 4 hours. Your body digests it over 4 hours. A carbohydrate 2 to 3, and a simple sugar an hour. So she says, just be sure you're balancing what you're eating so you're not starving. You don't feel hungry. She taught me these things, and it has changed me since that point. I still struggle with my diet. I know what I should do. But now I have some specifics that are simply baby steps. These programs, you can tell by listening to both of them, they're loving people, and they're buoyant people. You don't leave their office without a smile. And they leave you feeling, they give you some goals that you buy into. And you heard the individualized. If I'm a CrossFit person, Shannon's probably going to push me a little harder. But if I'm not, she's going to customize something that's a baby step for me. And again, I think success breeds success. And by the end of the program, and I think you ought to talk maybe a little bit about the length of these programs. It varies by person. This is not a 12-month program or a 6-month program, but that might be of interest.
So it's different for everybody depending on why you're there. specifically when it comes to the respiratory side of things, it's based off of medical need. So if somebody needs more time, they can stay longer. If somebody, I've had people who just turned it around super fast, and I was
within
like,
a couple of weeks, or
maybe, what was it, like a month maybe?
okay, a month.
Yeah, and this person she probably could have lifted me up over her head by the time she left. I said, okay, you're done. You're graduating now. You're ready.
So 4 weeks at the shortest, typically?
It usually goes for about, what would you say?
I'm going to say between 4 and 8 weeks is the typical. So respiratory, like Shannon was talking about, takes, it's very individualized. It's very much about the person and how quickly they do. If they continue to make even just slow progress, then they're going to be able to stay in the program. And, it's a maximum benefit is what we look at. That's the term. And once you're kind of there, you're there. And you sort of know, I'm doing really well and I can keep on doing what I'm doing. Cardiac is a very specific number. That one is about 8 weeks. It's 36 sessions, which 2 sessions a day because 1 hour is a session. So, and we run 3 days a week. Mondays, for cardiac.
Wednesdays, Thursdays.
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we do makeup sessions. So if you happen to miss or you have an appointment or something, we do offer the makeup time. So that we can stay with the 3 sessions a week if possible.
How about the emotional wellness program? What's the length of, how many visits do you typically see?
So that program, we can run anywhere. If you're in a group and you're doing the group supports, you can come up to 3 times a week as well. Otherwise, it could be as minimal as 1 time a week. That, I would say, is closer probably to a 6-month period. Again, it depends on...
situation.
Very much so situational.
Okay.
17 minutes before 10 o'clock on the Rim Country Forum here. If you're listening, wherever you're listening, in Iowa, if you're listening this morning on KMOGcountry.com or in Tibet, we do have our regular listeners in Tibet that we like to say good morning to. Thanks for being with us. If you have a question or a comment, 474-2427. We're visiting with the folks from Payson Banner Medical Center. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Rim Country Forum. We're having a really, hopefully a motivational discussion today about rehab, cardiopulmonary rehab, and senior emotional health. And on 2 really important things. I'm going to share a little personal thing here. I as a young person, was very active and athletic, played a lot of sports and was always moving, didn't really have any health issues significant. As a middle-aged person, I realized I needed to get into the gym and continue the activity because my normal life didn't provide that. So I probably went to the gym 5 or 6 days a week for 25 plus years. And then COVID hit, and it was like, oh, the gym was closed, and I didn't. And once you get out of that routine, it's really hard to get it back again. And I went in for a checkup, and the doctor said, you have kind of high blood pressure. Have you ever had an issue with that before? And I went, no, I haven't. I never had that before. And so that was a wake-up call. And so the last probably 6 weeks or so, I've been back in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. And son of a gun, if my blood pressure hasn't come down, and I just feel so much better. And it's taking that step again to make the commitment to get healthy. And we're not all in the same frame of mind when it comes to that. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's hard to. My wife will say she runs Monday through Friday, and some days she'll say, I'm just not in the mood to do this today. I said, well, then don't. She said, Hoyt, I can't do that.
Yeah.
She said, if I stop, I won't.
Yeah.
And so I think we are creatures of habit, and good habits sustain themselves as well. And it's hard being mortal, This part of being on this earth, it's very humbling, and I think that's a good thing. I hope we remember that.
Yeah.
But the good Lord's blessed us, I believe, the healthcare industry, so much science, which is really the study of consistency in nature, etc. But there's been some amazing discoveries of truth. That's how I will describe it. And I think heaven has been very kind to the healthcare industry to help improve health. Today's a different day than 100 years ago. And we have high expectations. Would you like fries with that? Supersize? So we're used to having offered something bigger and better every year. And the industry continues to deliver, but it's expensive. And that's one of the things that I have always been concerned about in our industry. And that's why I work for a not-for-profit. But I think back to the human side of things, one of the neat things of these programs that we didn't make reference to that I should make sure to do, imagine, Charlie, like similar to what you just went through, somewhat minor in scale in comparison to coming out of a heart attack or not being able to breathe, being afraid about overdoing and then not being able to catch my breath, period, is you get depressed. And so you don't show up for the appointments. Your spouse encourages you to enroll, and you're at the doctor's appointment with your spouse and they talk about this and you get enrolled, And so we end up with a high no-show rate in the industry, particularly with cardiopulmonary rehab. And so in our program, to help meet that need, to understand that human psychology, we have a van, a driver, who super friendly, loves their job, loves to pick people up, loves to schedule them for their appointments and to come get them. And this has been a real blessing. And the patients rarely don't show for their appointment if we pick them up. And they might be a no-show at the door, oversleep, whatever, but it's far less frequent. And as a result, the clinical outcome is much better. If we had a few doctors, I wish Dr. Hunt could have joined us today. She couldn't, but if she could, one of the struggles physicians and providers have is when patients do not comply with their counsel. You started exercising again, and you've seen a benefit. Many of us intend to begin to do what the doctor asks, and then we don't. So the van that we pick up patients for these programs is a real help it's a small baby step, but it helps people show up.
And I think that it's just an indication of the support, and we also have a good time when you're there. That never hurts, to be entertaining or to, Shannon plays some good music. It's not just all about the business, but we visit, people meet new people. You're there when, some of the programs run with other people there. So you might even be a little motivated by the other person attending. If they're just really rocking out that day, maybe it sort of inspires you to work a little harder yourself. So we do have, I feel like it's a really upbeat, positive, supportive environment, and I really think that that's important. I mean, if you can go to a gym and work out yourself, or if you can just get out and go for a walk, you can do that. You can do that at any time. These programs are not always available everywhere you go. So now we have this, and it's just another, potential component to what someone can do to make things better for themselves.
Yeah, I'm seeing. And your story about your mother was prompted a vision, but I'm seeing an elderly couple that it's a real challenge to get out and get in the car and go somewhere and go through the daily routine. So they've cut back a lot. They just are not doing as much. And the idea of it can't get more convenient than that, folks. Somebody will come to your door and pick you up and give you a ride to the session and take you home again afterwards. It's like,
and the van is wheelchair accessible.
There you go.
So we can fit pretty much anyone who wants to come.
One of the challenges that we have is to make sure that in the Valley, those hospitals doing the surgeries are aware of this program, because otherwise they'll refer the patient to a Phoenix-based cardiopulmonary rehab program, and what's the chance of you driving an hour and a half each way, or you might stay in a hotel. So that's kind of what drove us to recognize the need for this program, was number of patients who we're sending from the ER to transfer by heliflight or life flight or ground. What about how when they come back, how can we help them? So we're very proud of this program and appreciate the opportunity today to tell you about it and answer questions.
It's an excellent program. 474-2427. You have a question, a little more business, and we'll be back after this. We're into the home stretch here at the Rim Country Forum on KMOG in Payson, Arizona. Thanks so much for joining us today. KMOGcountry.com if you're listening online. And we hope you are. And if you're in Payson and you have friends or relatives who are in other parts of the world, we encourage you to tell them about KMOGcountry.com on their computer or on their smartphone. And that way they can sort of tune in to find out what's going on in the community and meet people like Hoyt and Judy and find out what's special about Payson. Why Judy is here, why the Lord brought her here to do this work. So the most you can hope for, the program is now relatively well subscribed. Are you close to capacity? You have a waiting list, or how do you get in?
So the cardiopulmonary rehab program is going great guns. We do have a wait list, but that doesn't mean that people are always, we're an open group, so you can join at any time. So if one person graduates, then we've got an open slot and someone can be ready to go.
All right, let's go back to the phone. Say good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Yeah, my name is Terry, and I was in the program when it first started up. I'm about 75, and I just want to say that they were very reinforceful for all the things that we did on all those machines, no matter how strenuous it was to the individual. And if anybody has the need for such things, I highly recommend it.
Terry, what kind of a health condition did you have before you got into the program?
Okay, I had a heart attack at the end of June last year, and they took me to Mayo Clinic and they put a pacemaker in me, and they wanted me to go to the Valley, as it was mentioned earlier, to do exercise and things, and I was amenable for the exercise, but I didn't want to spend 2 or 3 hours a day driving up and down the hill.
Yeah, you can't blame me for that.
How are you doing, Terry?
I'm doing very well, very well.
Good. It's great to hear you. You sound like you're doing well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing the exercise, everything. I keep doing exercises at home and a lot of walking to keep in shape. And I feel so much better than even before my heart attack. And my heart attack, they put a couple of stents in, and I haven't had a migraine headache since.
Wow. I'm so glad for you. That's excellent that you can keep doing this.
But I remember all a group of people, because I was about the third or fourth person in there, and we had quite a few people. We got to 8, going on 10 people at the time when I left after a couple of months. And all of the people who were in the program were encouraged by all of your people to do better, and we didn't compete with one another. We more or less reinforced one another, because that's the way the mood was set for the program.
Yeah, we very much want to encourage the individual, but also have the support of the whole group. So I'm glad that you had that experience, Terry. Thanks for letting us know this.
Okay, well, thank you for the program.
Yeah, God bless you, Terry. Thanks for listening, and congratulations. That's what we wanted to hear right there, right? Yeah. Now we can all go home. We've done our job for the day. That's special.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's why I came in this industry. I'm not a doctor, not a nurse, but I want to support those that are and change lives.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we changed Terry's life.
Yeah.
And doesn't he sound good?
He sounds
You
awesome.
could tell by the energy and the enthusiasm in his voice and everything.
I got to find out what gym he goes to, 'cause I'm not going there. I don't want to be shown up by Terry, man.
He's and he is definitely not. I don't mean to be boastful, but he's not the first person who's said, "I'm better even before I had the issue." I've had someone say that about COVID. I'm better than I was before I had COVID, and so that is just a very powerful statement right there. Yeah.
It's I won't forget what you said earlier, Judy, about the double-edged sword. It's the physical affects the mental, and the mental affects the physical. And it really
Right.
goes both ways.
Very much so.
So if you're one of those people who is having issues, and you know that you're having issues, because we all do, but you don't want to drive to the valley, and you need to get stronger and get healthier for your lungs, for your heart, and for your mental well-being, please call Banner Payson Medical Center and ask for Judy. And
Sounds good.
Yeah, and she'll talk to you and help you out. Thanks so much, folks, for being here again today. I want to thank Banner Health Payson Medical Center, or one of our wonderful sponsors, the Dana Law Group, the Power of Fives, Pinnacle Propane, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, Owens Law Firm, and Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we're going to talk about the MUDA and all of the other events going on in Payson, through the town of Payson, the Parks and Rec Department. So join us tomorrow if you have questions about the MUDA and you want to get out there and get dirty. We'll help you get that done too. You're listening to KMOG Payson. It's 10 o'clock. 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 It's 10 o'clock.